Imagine for a moment a downtown street preacher speaking about eternity to anyone and everyone who passes by. Should this be allowed in Canada, or should it be illegal? Does it cross a line? That's coming up on Insight. Is street church out of line? Love to hear your calls. Lines are open across Canada for your thoughts on this one. Let me explain. We're going to approach this from a couple of different angles. One is who should be helping the homeless, and how should that actually be done? Okay, and I know there's different angles on that one as well, but have we as the greater church, I guess, perhaps overlooked that area somewhat? Have we been involved enough in helping the homeless, the downtown street people? And two, how far do our freedom of speech rights go? Okay? Do we ever cross a line there? Last summer, our guest was arrested for praying and reading the Bible in public, in a public park in Calgary. Apparently, it was bothering some people who were in the same area, and he actually got arrested. I mean, that really got my gander going there. But on the other hand, I mean, people will say, well, maybe he was bothering those people. So we'll talk about that. Now his downtown Calgary outreach to the homeless may not get permits renewed because of some complaints that they're breaching the noise levels or being too loud. So question is it a legitimate complaint? On the one hand, of course, I mean, no one wants noisiness in their neighborhood, in their backyard, right? I mean, that's natural. We want to respect that. But is it a case of someone complaining because they're not in favor of the religious message that's being projected through the loudspeakers? Okay, so there's two sides to this one. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, on either side, because again, we do want to be kind to our neighbors. We want to be respectful of the noise bylaws, right? I think that is something that we should be doing as Christians. On the other hand, we've seen it happen before. Is there a double standard here for Christian, quote-unquote, noisemakers, if you will, as compared to secular noisemakers? Okay? 1-888-816-2545 anywhere in Canada. Your calls are welcome from any religious background. Our guests are Art Pawlowski and Lawrence Irwin. They are the co-founders of Calgary's Downtown Street Church Ministry. And you can check out their website at www.streetchurch.ca. And they also have a Revival Hits Calgary DVD that's available there. You might find that very interesting. See what God is actually doing on the streets of Calgary. People are getting saved and they are getting baptized and getting off of drugs, that sort of thing. All right, so streetchurch.ca. All right, welcome Art and Lawrence. Good to have you here.
Hi.
Now, maybe you could just right off the bat, for those viewers who haven't seen you the last time you were on, might be this is the first time you were on
Yes.
with us here today, Lawrence, but Street Church, what do you do? My understanding is when you guys got this going a few years ago, it's basically volunteers, right? I mean, from various churches, not just one church, but anybody, in Calgary is welcome to join in this from the various Christian churches to volunteer their time to outreach the downtown, right?
Yeah, that's right. The focus is souls. Mm-hmm. So about 4 years ago, I went on a missions trip, and I saw the church in Cuba, their passion for souls and their passion for God. And they would sacrifice everything to share Jesus with the lost. And that impacted me so much. I came back, and I said to myself, or God was saying to me, do you care about souls? And I said, yes. Do you care about your friends and family going to hell? Yes. Do you care enough to tell them about Jesus? Now, that's a big question. Do we care enough to tell them about Jesus? So that's how this group, we started praying for our friends and family, and we started to see our friends and family come to Jesus, and we started to share Jesus Christ with them. And then we said, well, if our family needs Jesus, if our friends need Jesus, strangers need them as well. So we started to go to the streets and go wherever God led us to share Christ, and that's how it started. One soul, our motto at Street Church is, one soul for Jesus. If it's for one soul for eternity in heaven, it's worth it.
It's worth it, right?
Amen.
Okay,
Yeah.
And you've obviously seen more than that come to Jesus. You're saying there's lots, right? Let me ask you, where does the funding come from? First of all, I know you have some other church members involved, but are the churches themselves putting money into this? Where do you get the bucks?
Well, first I want to start with this. Like, we are not here to slam anybody or put anybody down, and we're going to talk about authorities and police approaches us, all that stuff. We are not against the authorities. We are obeying our laws as a good Christian and citizen of the country, you should obey the authority of the land. That's very clear. Bible speaks about it. Unless it hits the commandment of a living God.
Right.
Then you have a choice. Who are you going to obey, man or God? The same with the churches. But you know, we feel sometimes like abandoned, orphaned.
So you're not getting the help you're needing, perhaps, right?
You know, we need so much help. We are feeding 3,000 to 4,000 homeless a month. And we are not really supported by any organization at all. Sporadically, like Center Street Church, which is an awesome blessing, you know, would come and help us with the big festivals when we have 2,000 people at one event and help us with the food. But really, you know, we are just waiting upon the Lord to show up.
So is this just basically then personal donations for the most
right.
part?
That's right.
People who support your ministry say, you know what, I'm going to put in, you know, $20 this month or whatever.
That's
and,
And even homeless, you know, the biggest blessing is not when a businessman will come and say, you know, $50,000 here is for the food or clothes or for whatever. Is those $5 from a homeless that they would come and those $5 are dirty and they, you know, fold it and they would give it to you.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
That always puts the tears in my eyes because they know without money these days you cannot do it. You want to have a revival, but revival costs money. Revival, you know, prostitutes, you got to take them off the streets, you got to put them into housing projects, you got to find a job for them, you have to clothe them, you have to change their way of life. And so that's how I feel sometimes, you know, we are just those orphans on the streets and unwanted.
Well, let me put a plug in for you, though, because I know you do take online donations as well, don't you? Online as well now, or no? Do you take online donations or no?
No.
Okay, so they'd have to mail them in, though. Okay, so your address, though, is online, and they could mail in their donations, and tax receipts are available because you are a registered charity. All right, so why don't we put that up on the screen, www.streetchurch.ca, and people could mail in a donation. And again, you know, size doesn't matter, or whatever the Lord lays on somebody's heart for a ministry like this. Okay, great. And basically, what you're doing is you're doing services several times a week. You're preaching to whoever comes by. You set up your truck with some loudspeakers in a downtown park, and people come by. And some people actually do get saved. Other people line up for your food. I mean, you've got different, you know, food, you know, locations there as well, which is great. Now you have a court case coming up that's actually going to decide whether or not you get permits renewed to do your downtown preaching. Now, apparently the city says they've received a number of complaints over the noise levels, okay? And now, the question is, again, are these coming from residents who are living in the area? And again, I think the nearest, you know, residences are a couple of blocks away.
Yes.
So is it really too loud is the question? And if it is, then I would say legitimately, then it needs to be turned down. I would agree then. If it's not, see, the question is I guess, are the complaints, as some are saying, coming from a competing, if I can use that term, homeless shelter that does things in a secular fashion, and they aren't really pleased with you guys doing this in a religious fashion? Is that basically the gist of this?
Exactly, that's what it is. We have some people inside of the shelters, and we would have them coming to us, and they said, our boss ordered us to phone the bylaw and police every time we see you here. He said exactly like this: let's make the authorities' life so miserable that they will shut them down. And since that moment, we received some complaints, and the police started to showing up, and the bylaws and park departments and the whole 9 yards. And we tried to explain to them. We've met with the city council, we've met with the mayor, trying to tell them, you know what? Even let's say some of those complaints are valid. Let's say they are. Okay, how much is a person's life worth? Let's say there is 100 complaints during a whole year, and we took, let's say, just 300 people. There's a lot more that we took off the streets, but just say 300 people we took: crack dealers, crack addicts, prostitutes, and homeless off the streets. Is one complaint for 3 souls or 3 lives worth it?
So, in other words, what's more important, enforcing the noise bylaw, or getting people off the street? And of course, I think anybody watching would say, well, hold on a second, let's put that in perspective. We want to clean up the streets, right?
Exactly. And when we say, you know what, like, let's put a line. One complaint for 3 people off the streets. And we don't want your money. We don't want anything. We don't want anything.
You're not asking people for money downtown,
no,
right?
we're not asking government for money, nothing. Let us do what we are good at by the message of God in the name of Jesus. Get as many people off the streets as possible, and we are good at it because He is good at it.
Because the gospel is powerful.
We are just messengers of God's love. We bring hope because He's hope.